Welcome to Wise Guys.
Today's topic, Ivanka Trump and her new White House role. So it was just announced a few days ago that Ivanka Trump will now have an office in the West Wing of the White House and will be given a security clearance, is applying and obtaining the security clearance, though her exact role has not yet been identified. Wes and I wanted to go into exactly what kind of precedent exists for a president to have a family member fulfilling a role like this, especially without an official title, and also what Ivanka Trump specifically brings to the table here. I think I was a little shocked to hear that she would be getting a security clearance and also have an official office there because, everyone's aware that she plays a role in swaying and influencing her father. It's been very clear she's done that for a while. Ivanka used to be the executive vice president of the Trump organization, has had a really successful fashion and entrepreneurial brand herself. There's pretty clear indication that she is good at the things she's done in the past, and her father really appreciates that, in her opinion. That much is clear. I'm surprised, though, that they would be taking this risk to actually give her the office itself, when it seemed like she could come in and out of the White House at any time on her own. I don't know why the office was necessary, and to me it's drawing a lot of questions.
I mean, my take on this is she's going to have an office, she's going to have access to information. So President Trump wants to use her as a very close advisor that's going to be in on some of the closest issues of his presidency. So I think one of the issues that the president faces, any president faces, is they only have a limited amount of time every day.
Sure.
And their problem is that they're not always going to have somebody that really pushes the issue from their prerogative. A lot of times presidents have these issues with they appoint a Secretary of State, they appoint a Secretary of Defense, but that individual pursues their own agenda or that bureaucracy's agenda.
Sure.
So I think this is a way for President Trump to basically get more Trumpsters, really, in the administration that are pushing his point of view.
I mean, I would absolutely say Ivanka is a Trumpster through and through, but I don't know. So you said that it makes sense, and a lot of people are saying that it makes sense because we already knew that she was an advisor in some capacity. But, the president has the ability to appoint advisors. That's an official title in the West Wing. Ivanka's husband, Jared Kushner, is a senior advisor and has been for the last few months. He has enormous capacity within the White House, as has been seen in his role in diplomacy, specifically in the Middle East. President Trump has come out and said that Jared Kushner will be playing almost the lead role in a lot of his Middle Eastern foreign policy. So, the senior advisor role exists. Ivanka doesn't hold it. President Trump, back in November, said that he wouldn't be trying to get security clearances or top-level clearances for any of his children. I guess Ivanka isn't necessarily getting a top secret. I would imagine she is. She could just be getting a secret-level clearance. But nonetheless, it seems that that's changed. I'm not going to fault President Trump on, changing his mind there, because clearly since then she's decided to take a larger role. But I think it's interesting to note that she, as not having an official role, technically doesn't have a direct supervisor, technically doesn't have a direct protocol that she's got to handle. And as far as I'm aware, this has never happened in any capacity of this before. All I can think of is Bobby Kennedy being Attorney General back in the early 60s to JFK. And even that, while problematic in a lot of different ways, was first, before the nepotism laws were passed in 1967. And second, was actually criticized really profoundly then too, and has been since. So I'm a little confused that President Trump imagines this will go off without any note. I also don't think it's the end of the world. I think she's fulfilling the same role she was before. But It does seem problematic. There doesn't seem to be any oversight.
Yeah, I would be really worried, actually, if people like Ivanka Trump or Jared Kushner were actually being appointed to roles like Attorney General.
Of course,
I think that would be pretty bad. But I think that they're obviously going to have some type of internal competence with them, some type of, I would say, pull. So, really, what is it? Is it going to be like a family thing where you would imagine? look at. They say they didn't talk, but you probably think that George Bush probably talked to his dad sometimes.
So that's interesting. I mean,
Right.
he did, but I think...
But there's the no official connection. In this case, it's different. She's
not
going
only
to have
that,
an
though,
office.
I
She's
mean,
an active part.
Interesting you mentioned that, because George W. Bush, Bush 43, and his relation to his father, Bush 41, and Hillary Clinton during her time as First Lady are really the biggest parallels that I can think of that might, fit the similar bill. Bush 41 very explicitly has said that George W.
Yeah, it was nothing. Never
no, he was invited to a few meetings, but never high level
he
meetings.
said he was never. That was completely his own president.
100%.
But like, let's be honest. Like, we know, like, they're family.
Of
so
course.
there was some level of interaction.
And I'm not saying that there wasn't, or even that there shouldn't be. I mean, Wes and I were talking about it. I don't know if there is any way to really get rid of nepotism. If
I don't think you can pass laws.
Any family member will
nepotism.
have a sway on a powerful
Right.
person, no matter what, right? I mean, Rex Tillerson just came out and said he didn't even want to be Secretary of State. His wife convinced him to do it. I mean, that's power, right?
Right.
That's family. So I think these things are not inherently... I don't think they're totally avoidable. However, I do think that there's a difference in just putting it out in the open, especially when Ivanka has already taken such a large role. She was sitting with Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, when she came into town just a few weeks ago. She was meeting Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada. She's been behind him in the Oval for bill signings and things like that. Just major things that she has really...
Right.
nothing to do with, or at least as far as we're aware of.
I think she's going to have a lot to do with them. I mean, I think there's benefits and disadvantages to it. The benefit is that the president gets more people who probably really do actually represent his views.
Right.
Which can be very difficult when the president is trying to translate his guidance down into execution. The downside is that you basically have a staff within a staff.
Right.
Right? So what you don't want is having an inner cloister of family members that shield him from other opinions.
Right.
As long as he doesn't have that, then I think this is a situation and an organization that could probably work to his benefit.
And I mean, I agree, because in a lot of ways, at least from the reports we've been seeing, Ivanka may even put a more moderate spin on Trump and the president than a lot of his other advisors.
Could
right?
be, we don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what the media is reporting, is that she pulls him in a little bit, especially for like women in the workplace and a lot of like female right arguments. But all of that aside, we've got Ivanka now in an unofficial capacity, Jared Kushner in an official capacity, and most recently, President Trump has appointed Kellyanne Conway's husband to a high-ranking legal position in the Department of Justice.
Right.
That's really interesting, too. And to me, it just suggests a very insular group of, I guess, not only discussion and not only political commentary, but also all of his own views, and anyone that might criticize him is coming from internal areas, And it's clear he doesn't care about the media. Mm-hmm. It's clear that's not affecting him. So I would think the staff is the only way that he could be really moved one way or the other. And having full familial bonds and everywhere seems like it might be problematic in the long run.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think two things to push back on that. One is, we kind of covered this before. He's kind of leader of the Trumpsters, right?
Yeah.
He's really got his own political movement. So he doesn't have a lot of people that I think that would be so ready to step in, number one. Number two, I think he has appointed people, though, that are outside his... In fact, the people that have more power within his administration, when you look at people like Secretary of Defense Mattis, those are the people that really have never been involved with Trump,
right,
or even ideologically aligned with him. So I think that there's a good balance, and it's all about how you actually work it in practice. So... I'll go back to what I said before. The advantage is that he's got people that will now be able to push his guidance the way he's meant to have it pushed. The disadvantage is that you might end up with information walls and not the correct information getting to the president. But you have that problem with any type of staff situation you set up.
I think I agree with you. And I think the biggest thing to take away from this is, more than anything else, everyone has talked about, the ethical issues that the Trump family, the Trump organization, Kellyanne Conway and Donald Trump, like helping Ivanka's brand and her shoes in the past. All those ethical issues aside, I think one thing we're really learning is that specifically Jared Kushner and Ivanka, and right now Ivanka, have a lot more influence and power than we might know. I think it's interesting that after she sat in with a meeting with Angela Merkel, she now has her own office, is now getting clearance. And more importantly, I think it's really intriguing that she has not spoken publicly once since he took office.
Yeah, I think you probably expect that. I mean, especially when you're an informal advisor like that. I mean, it's his daughter, but
Right.
when you're an informal advisor like that, you don't really want to be in a news cycle.
Exactly.
It's almost like being national security advisor. You don't want to be in the news cycle. Look
Especially
what happened
domestically.
to Flynn,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And one thing also to go on here in the end is, I kind of agree with you with the Department of Justice, Kellyanne Conway, Mr. Conway thing. I mean, I don't feel comfortable with that because nobody likes any type of influence peddling, right? Now, we don't know the circumstances.
And maybe that's what politics is, to a certain
to a
extent.
degree, but we're not really talking about politics. We're really talking about bureaucratic element.
Especially DOJ and White House. That's a really critical one. You know?
I mean, we're really talking about bureaucrats who are supposed to be professionals that are administering government. I mean, maybe he was in line for the promotion beforehand.
Right.
But who knows the actual circumstances? But again, they can probably do a better job communicating that, I think.
I agree. I think there'll be a lot left to watch on this, and I definitely think Ivanka Trump is going to be an important and influential figure for the next 3-4 years.
Right.
This has been The Wise Guys. Thank you guys for watching. As always, feel free to get in touch with us with comments, questions, or concerns on Gmail or Twitter.